Hi, this is Arun, lecturer in commerce from Dr. V.S. Krishna Government Degree and PG College, Vishakhapatnam. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Arun's Commerce Classes Made Easy. The purpose of my YouTube channel is to create awareness among the commerce students and understand easily the various concepts in commerce and different subjects in the commerce. So kindly do subscribe my channel for further viewing of the videos which will be launching soon. Thank you. Hello everyone. A very good morning. Myself, I am Dr. G. Arun Kumar, lecturer in commerce from Dr. V.S. Krishna Government Degree and PG College, Vishakhapatnam. Be on a very important aspect of financial accounting, which is rectification of errors, where I'm going to make you learn what is a suspense account, why it is so important, the merits and demerits, and also the very essential of the purpose of creating a suspense account. And the presentation of today's would be like this. This is my outline of my presentation, where before we go into what is a suspense account, we'll start with what is error and why, what do you mean by rectification of error, what are the different types of errors, the meaning and concept of a suspense account, the importance of preparing a suspense account, the merits and demerits of preparing a suspense account, and finally, after the students have understood clearly what is a suspense account, why is so important, and the merits and demerits, you are going to learn a very simple problem, and I would like to explain you a simple solution on how to prepare a suspense account by passing some journal entries and by preparing a suspense account ledger. So let's go into the presentation for today. Yeah. So before we go into what is a suspense account, we should know basically what are the errors and what do you mean by the rectification of errors. Now, what are errors? So we can say mistakes are the result of activities. Yes. So when we do activities, as a result, we commit mistakes, right? And these are called mistakes. And if we do something, we make a mistake. Okay. So therefore, like in accounting also, there are errors in accounting which are as a result of just ignorance of the accounting rules, which may be knowingly or unknowingly have taken place because of the accountant and maybe because of the businessman. Okay, so whenever there is a mistakes in accounting because of the ignorance of the principles of accounting or various accounting rules, then it is called errors in accounting. And we can't use alteration of accounts, okay, because when we are altering the accounts, it may lead to the lack in the reliability of the accounts. Okay, and since so many people are looking after accounts, it may lose your reliability. And if a correction is seen and after a gap of time, maybe after a few months of time, if you are going to do some alteration, since there is a error, that may again lead to disturbance of all the accounting entries made after that. So you can't disturb the accounting cycle, right? So errors are often as a result of ignorance on the part of the accountant or the trader or the businessman, unknowingly or knowingly, because of not following some accounting rules and principles. Now, how to rectify this error and what do you mean by rectification of errors? So when errors are traced out, being an accountant, you should rectify the errors. Now, what is rectification of error? Simple. Once a error is located, it should be properly corrected. See, once a error is located, it should be properly corrected. So how you are going to correct the errors? So when there is a correction of accounting errors in a very systematic manner, either by passing of journal entries or by preparing of suspense account, when you are going to correct the accounting errors in a systematic manner, that process is called rectification of errors. Now, what is rectification of errors? In simple words, whenever there are errors are there, they have to be located and corrected. So when you are properly correcting the errors in a systematic manner, it is called rectification of errors. It is possibly done by either passing the rectification of errors by passing of a right journal entry, or sometimes when there is a one-sided error, you may prepare a suspense account for rectifying the errors. Then, now coming to types of errors. So generally, as I told you what is an error, there are two types of errors, right? So first category of errors are called two-sided errors, and these errors don't affect the trial balance agreement. Now, with the efforts of the accountant, when a trial balance is prepared to check the arithmetical accuracy of the books of accounts, there are possibility of two errors. One is called two-sided error and the second one is called one-sided error. Now, what is this two-sided error? This will not affect any, this will not have any net effect on the trial balance. In spite of these errors, the trial balance may agree. And what are one-sided errors? This will have an effect on the trial balance agreement. The trial balance will not agree, either the debit balance or credit balance, it will not be equal, and such errors are called one-sided errors, and which can be easily located, traceable. And to avoid this one-sided errors, a suspense account will be opened and maintained, right? Now let us see what are these two-sided errors. The first error is called error of omission, then second is called error of commission, error of original entry, a compensating error, and error of principal. Now let us see these errors in elaborately, right? So what do you mean by error of omission? So simply it means any transaction which has been completely omitted from the original books of accounting. See, completely omitted from the original books of accounting. It will neither appear on the debit side nor on the credit side of the trial balance. For example, a purchase of goods from Arun and Company of 40,000 was omitted to be recorded in the books. So it does not have any effect on the trial balance. It was omitted, right? And the second category of error is called error of commission. Now what do you mean by error of commission? It means that a transaction, instead of being recorded in the right account, has been recorded in the wrong account of the same class. I mean, it has been recorded, but instead of recorded in one account, it has been recorded in some other account. For example, you see here 30,000 to Arun. I mean, a payment to Arun was wrongly debited to the account of Lishka. No issue. Instead of Arun, you are debited to Lishika, right? Then the third is called error of original entry. It means that the amount of transaction has been wrongly recorded in the journal and the same wrong amount also posted in the ledger. See, the transaction is recorded but wrongly recorded, and the wrong amount has been also posted to the ledger account. Such entries are called error of original entry. For example, you see here, goods sold to Miss Lakshmi for amount of 50,000 was wrongly recorded in the sales journal, right? Okay, so goods sold to Lakshmi was wrongly recorded in the journal at 5,000 instead of 50,000, and the same amount was also posted in the Miss Lakshmi account and sales account. So here there is a problem in the amount. Instead of 50,000, it was recorded as 5,000, right? So the fourth type of error in two-sided error is called error of principles. Now what do you mean by error of principle? So error of principle means the errors which are caused due to violation of generally accepted accounting principles. That means when you are incorrectly allocating between capital and revenue items, right? So you have avoided the basic principle of accounts here, right? The rules have not been followed. For example, treating the capital expenditure as revenue expenditure and treating the revenue expenditure as capital expenditure as the examples of errors of principles. See, for example, when wages are paid on installation of new machinery of 10,000 but recorded as wage expenses. So this wage on installation should be added to the machinery account as a capital expenditure, but it has been wrongly entered as a wage expense, which is a revenue expenditure. So this is called errors of principle. And we have compensating errors. Now what do you mean by compensating errors? Whenever some errors in the amount of have occurred on the opposite side of two or more accounts and they have cancelled themselves in the net result, are called compensatory errors. See, for example, the purchasers account has been wrongly debited with 50,000 instead of 40. So it was 40, so it was debited with 50,000, right? On the other hand, Arun account has been wrongly created with 15,000 instead of 10,000. So excess. And sales account has been wrongly created with 60,000 instead of 55. So these are called compensating errors. And finally, the second category of errors are called one-sided errors. So when these words like wrongly debited, wrongly credited, and wrongly posted are appearing, are used in one statement of financial statements or account, this is called one-sided errors. That means these one-sided errors have a impact on the agreement of trial balance. Okay, so when the trial balance does not agree, one side may be excess or other side may be deficit, then these errors are called one-sided errors. Now how you rectify the one-sided errors? This can be rectified by using a very simple preparation of simple account, that is called a suspense account, right? Now let us come into the very important aspect of today's presentation, that is why we prepare a suspense account. What do you mean by suspense account, and what are the merits and demerits of suspense account? Let us discuss in elaborate. Right now, let us come to the meaning and concept of a suspense account. Now, why we prepare a trial balance? We prepare a trial balance at the end of every month to check whether the ledger accounts are prepared in accordance with the basic accounting rules and principles, right? So at the end of the day, when you prepare a trial balance, the trial balance should agree. Why? Because it shows that when the trial balance is agreed, okay, you have followed all the accounting principles. And to check the arithmetic accuracy of the books of accounts, we generally prepare a trial balance, right? So even though you have put at best efforts, okay, you have put your best efforts of making your trial balance agree, but sometimes the trial balance is not tallied and not agreed with the best efforts, okay, with best efforts, then what you do is, if when the trial balance is not tallied, even in spite of best efforts being put by the accountant, you try to open a new account, and it is named as a suspense account. Now why we prepare a suspense account is, this helps us to avoid the unnecessary delays in the accounting process. Okay, so when the accounting process is delayed, it becomes a very difficult process for preparation of final accounts. So to avoid this unnecessary delays, okay, when the trial balance does not agree, a new account is opened and it is called as a suspense account. Now what do you mean by suspense account? Suspense account is a temporary account, okay, which is opened and it is maintained unless a trial balance is agreed. So once the trial balance get agrees, and once you are able to identify and locate the error, then the suspense account is closed. Okay, so the amount in the suspense account is maintained until the errors are traced out and the error is being rectified, right? So what is a suspense account? It is in simple words we can say a suspense account is essentially a tool used for rectifying the errors in the accounting. Okay, so whenever there are one-sided errors, we try to rectify them by preparation of a suspense account. So accounting is an important aspect of any business operation. So it involves keeping track of financial transactions to ensure accuracy and reliability of accounts. So in order to ensure accuracy and reliability of accounts, what we do is we prepare an account called suspense account, where we are going to rectify the one-sided errors. Now let us see the disposal of suspense account. So what is a suspense account? It is simply an imaginary account. Okay, it is used as a temporary measure. See, it is not permanent. It is used until an error is located and rectified. So it is a temporary measure. It is basically used to reconcile a trial balance. Okay, so it is used to reconcile a trial balance. To make the trial balance agree, we use suspense account. And finally, the very purpose of preparing suspense account is that it ends with the location of errors. So once the errors are located, the suspense account is closed, right? And again, you can say that the suspense account is used to dispose the rectification entries which are passed with the help of suspense account. So this is the purpose of why we open and we maintain a suspense account. Now let us come to the very important aspects. So why we prepare a suspense account? Okay, since a suspense account is very useful in locating the errors, in identifying the one-sided errors and rectifying the errors, so we can say that suspense account is having a very important part in rectification of errors. So it is one of the accounting tool which is used for rectifying the errors. So let us see the advantages and disadvantages of preparing a suspense account. So why we prepare a suspense account? Since a suspense account is having too many advantages, accountant has to compulsorily prepare a suspense account in order to relocate or rectify the one-sided errors. Now let us go into the advantages of preparing a suspense account. So once you prepare a suspense account, there are major advantages but as in this presentation I have discussed only few advantages, right? So the first advantage of preparing a suspense account is that a suspense account, when prepared properly, helps in correction of errors, right? So basically the suspense account helps us in identifying where the error has taken place. Okay, where the error has taken place, it is whether on the debit side of the trial balance or on the credit side of the trial balance. So once the error is located, it helps us in immediately correcting the error. So the correction of errors takes place very easily when you prepare a suspense account. Second advantage is that it also helps us in identifying the unrecorded transactions, right? And sometimes even the accountant and the trader does not know the unrecorded transactions, but once you prepare a suspense account, it also helps us in finding out and identifying the unrecorded transactions which were earlier missed by the accountant or by the trader. So we can say that it also helps us in correcting the errors. Along with that, it helps in identifying the unrecorded transactions also, right? And finally, uh, when you prepare a suspense account, they ensure that the accuracy of financial statements are maintained, and it is very important. Now what do you mean by accuracy of financial statements? So since we follow the principles of double entry system, every stage when we prepare accounts, it should be tallied. So once the trial balance is tallied, we can say that there has been a maintenance of arithmetical accuracy. So in order to ensure arithmetical accuracy, with the help of suspense account, we can also say that the arithmetical accuracy of the financial statements are being maintained. So it helps us in again maintaining the arithmetical accuracy of our financial statements like trading account, P&L account, and also balance sheet, right? But it is not free from disadvantages, as every coin has two sides. And even the suspense account, in spite of having major advantages, it has some disadvantages also and limitations. Let us discuss in brief. Now coming to the disadvantages of suspense account, there is always a delay in reporting, right? So when you prepare a suspense account, you have to maintain the suspense account until and unless the errors are traced out. So if the errors are traced out by taking so much of time, then unnecessary there will be delay in the reporting process. Okay, so sometimes by preparing a suspense account, you may trace out the errors very easily or quickly, but in some cases when the errors are not able to identified and locate, it may take some time. As a result, the preparation of some important reports like your P&L account, trading account, and balance sheet preparation may take some time. So sometimes the suspense account may cause unnecessary delays in your financial reporting. And the second disadvantage is that misrepresentation of financial statements. Sometimes even though you prepare a suspense account, the financial statement may not give the accurate information, and they may mislead. They may give the misleading information to the public and to your company. So there is a possibility of misrepresentation of your accounting information which you are presenting in your financial statements. And finally, there is a lot of difficulty in identifying the transactions. So it's not very easy. As we say, identifying of the transactions which has caused errors is not an easy job. So you have to face so many difficulties and you have to put so many efforts in identifying the transactions which has caused the errors. So it's not very easy. Okay, so we can say that it's not very easy to identifying and locate the errors. It take a lot of time, so it is difficult in identifying the transactions. So these are the various advantages and disadvantages of preparing a suspense account. Hope the today's lecture has given a much understanding of what is a suspense account, why it is prepared, okay, what are the merits and what are the demerits. So let me continue my presentation to have a brief understanding of or a practical preparation of a suspense account. So in this slide I would like to explain you, okay, how to prepare a suspense account, right? Okay, now let us discuss a very small problem to understand how to prepare a suspense account, how to pass the journal entries for a suspense account. So I have taken a very small example to make that the students can easily prepare the suspense account in their examinations, right? Yeah. So see, I have showed you the two different cases. So when there are some errors, okay, after the completion of trial balance, see, there are some errors after the completion of trial balance. The following errors were recorded. And when suspend account is not open, let us see how the journal entries are passed. And when a suspense account is open, how the journal entries are passed. So this is without suspense account and this is with suspense account is open. And let us understand why it is so important to prepare a suspense account, right? Yeah. See, the first case, the purchase book was undercast by 500. That means it was undercast by 400. So it was less by 400 rupees. Now, when there is no suspense account, we can simply rectify the error of this undercasting of purchase book of 500 by passing an entry to undercasting of purchase book rupees 500. This is in the case when no suspense account is open. So, and if the same we open a suspense account, now the journal entry would be purchases account debit 5500 to the suspense account credit 500. So this is how you pass a journal entry when you prepare a suspense account. And let us see the second case. See here, the sales book was overcast by 100. It was more by 100 rupees. So in this case, when a suspense account is not open, the journal entry would be like this: to overcasting of sales book 100. But if the same is solved with the help of suspense account, the entry would be sales account debit 100 to suspense account 100, right? And let us see the third case where rupees 620 which was received from Mohan were posted to debit of his account. It should be credited, but it is posted to the debit because it is received from Mohan. Now, when a suspense account is not open, you know, the error, the rectification would be by error of posting in Mohan's account by 1240. And if the same, when a suspend account is open, it will be recorded as suspense account debit 1240 to Mohan account credit 1240. This is when you prepare a suspense account. Now, let us see the fourth case. I have used different cases. So, in the fourth case, what happened? The total of credit of Bhushan account has been overadded by 800. Okay. For this rectification error, journal entry would be when there is no suspense account, to excess amount on the credit side of Bhushan account with an amount of 800. In the same case, if you write it in a suspense account, the journal entry would be Bhushan account debit to 800 to suspense account credit 800, right? Then you see the fifth case where a discount of 282 allowed to a customer has been credited his account wrongly as 228. So instead of 282, it was created as 228. Now let us see how to record this when a suspense account is not open. So in this case, by lesser amount posted in the credit side of customer account rupees 54, and the same can be recorded in the suspense account as suspense account debit 554 rupees to the customer's account, okay, 54 rupees. And finally, Yeah, the goods were returned of rupees 1200 to Kundan, though entered in return book but not posted. See, it was recorded in the return book, sales return book, but it was not posted to his account. So as a result, when suspend account is not open, the journal entry would be to omission of posting on debit side in the Kundan account with an amount of rupees 1200. Now, when a suspense account is open, the same journal entry would be, to rectify the error, would be Kundan account debit 1200 to the suspense account 1200. So, this is the difference between when a rectification has taken place and when no suspense account is maintained, how to write the journal entry, and when a suspense account is open and how to write a journal entry for suspense account has been clearly explained by me by using this simple problem. Hope this has make the student understand. Now, after passing the journal entries, finally we came to the end of this session. Now let us see how the suspense account is prepared. Okay, so now what we do is, when we prepare a suspense account, see here, wherever the amounts were debited, we will credit such amounts, and wherever the amounts were debited, we will credit that amount. Okay, so if a debit we will credit, and which was credited we will be debited. So here let us see, here in suspense account Mohan was credited, now we'll debit Mohan in suspense account, and in suspense account purchase was debited, so we'll credit purchases and also we'll credit sales, right? So like that, now we'll let us understand the ledger account of preparing a suspense account after passing these journal entries. Now the account would appear like this. Hope it is clear. Yes. See, now let us open a suspense account and let us prepare a suspense account, and let us close the suspense account after we have passed the 6 journal entries which I discussed earlier. Now the suspense account is again a simply T format ledger account which will have a debit side and credit side. Okay. Now what you record in the debit and credit side is simply whatever in the journal entries were debited will be credited now, and whatever was credited in the journal entries in suspense account will be debited now. Okay, now let us see this. So after the passing of the journal entries, the suspense account will appear like this. So there the purchase was debited, now we have credited the purchases, so 500. Now sales were debited, now we have credited the sales by 100. Bhushan account was debited, now we have credited Bhushan account by 800. And Kundan account was also debited, now we have credited Kundan account 1200. Now here what you observe is that, so all the debited items in the journal entries were created now, and there were two items, that is two Mohan and customer, which were created in the suspense account while passing the journal entries. Now we have given them a debit. So two Mohan 1240 and two customer 54. Now what happened is that, so once you have prepare a suspense account, the suspense account has to be tallied. It will not agree, right? So the debit and credit are not equal, and you have to make them equal by tallying the suspense account. Now what you do is, so once you have posted all the amounts from the journal entries, what you observe here, that the credit side is 2600, whereas the debit side is only is less than that. So debit side is 1240 plus 54, it comes around 1294. Okay, so debit side is only 1294, whereas the credit side is in excess of debit side, that is 2600. Now what you do is, you post the 2600 total on the debit side also, both, now you tally it. So by making the difference, now from 26, if you minus the debit side, the balance is 1306. Now what is this 1306? It is nothing but the difference as per the trial balance. Now you try to, so once in a suspense account, you have identified that there is a debit difference of 1306 in the trial balance. So this is the error you have identified. So to rectify this error, now you will try to locate and rectify this difference of 1306 rupees. So this is how a simple suspense account is prepared to locate the one-sided errors and to rectify the errors. Okay, so hope today's presentation has given enough knowledge on what is suspense account, what is the purpose of preparing a suspense account, the merits and demerits, and also what are the errors and what are the rectification of errors and what are the types of errors we have discussed elaborately. So once again,